And that therein lies the problem. Because we built this whole new infrastructure, the framework of the constitution, but the same people who brought the country to where it was at the brink of destruction were given now the power to animate this constitution. We see that now there's that conflict between it. So for me, the way forward has to be, one, we've really got to work towards dissolving parliament. I mean, for me, it has been the worst in the post-2010 dispensation. I think that we have had a parliament has been a total disservice to the Kenyan people. We know that it is possible to run even county governments with integrity and in the service of the people. Professor Kivuda Kibwana proved this, and his county was a model county. That is where people went to see how the people are involved, and so we know that it can be done. So for me, the dissolution of parliament and the clarion call that Ruto must go, because we cannot continue to have a leadership that actually does not serve the interests of the people. What we have are businessmen, politicians. I mean, right now, we know that the president is in China, and the China deals are so opaque because they actually contain within them these, what they call non-disclosure clauses, right? So even to date, we have never been told exactly what was given as collateral for our SGR, and we still don't know what it is that they are doing out there, so that we continue to be in this cycle of debt dependency, a lack of transparency and non-disclosure in government deals, whether they are government to government. Please remember the last government to government deal that was supposed to give us reduced petroleum prices not only did not decrease the price of petroleum, but we are said to have lost a lot of money. And so the sovereign, that is we the people, through the public purse, through taxes, continue to pay dearly for this. And Kenyans continue to be deprived of opportunity. We continue to suffer unemployment and all kinds of, evils because our government is being mismanaged. We are paying taxes to the nth, not for service delivery, but to pay debts that are at best odious. And I know that Willis has been on this campaign, and that is something that we already have in Africa. We already have an example that we can borrow from in Mozambique, where they declared their debt odious because some of their debt was declared odious. They took some billion shillings to fund some state-owned enterprise, and there was corruption and mismanagement, and the people challenged it. So I believe that we are able to challenge it. And so we must not stop now. Yes, the government has come back very heavy-handed. The government is doing everything that it can. William Ruto is doing everything that he can to continue in the same pattern. But the truth of the matter is that we are on a very dangerous path, because even though he has brought in the opposition to steady the ship, this ship is taking in water. He has suffered a mortal blow. And the fundamentals have not changed. They have not addressed the economic concerns. And so this ship is it's actually a sinking ship. I mean, for at the very best, he's probably, just bought himself. They're on injury time at the very best. But then what does it mean for us as Kenyans? Because if we continue on this, we all suffer collectively. We are seeing from other African countries that it's possible. Professor gave us the example of what's happening in West Africa. Ibrahim Traoré, the military leader of Burkina Faso, has changed the price of uranium. They were selling their uranium at 80 cents to France. 80 cents, like ndururus, 80 cents. And on the world market, it was going for 200 euros. So you're selling at 80 cents per kilo to the French, and they were selling at 200 euros. I mean, and these are the things that we're talking about. And let me tell you, it goes deeper than that. We are the capture of Kenya we are, as somebody said, that we are living in a plantation. I want to remind you people of companies like East African breweries. Many people will celebrate Tusker, Imara, Pilsner, Kamasimba. But do you know that East African Breweries is a British company? And any attempt by anybody to set up a competing local beer maker is thwarted by them. Look at what happened to Tabitha of Keroche. Diageo is the mother company. That is a British company. Our famed Safaricom, we talk about Safaricom. Government is a 35% shareholder. Who holds 45% of the shares? A company called Vodafone. Vodafone, British. Yeah, they have shares in it. So all these things, some of the things that we are celebrating as ours are not. And they have captured us completely. You talk about my shags, Baringo. I know for sure. Yeah. In Baringo, there are rubies. They're said to be, and this is something we knew from when we were kids, that they have some of the best rubies in the world in Baringo. So that area where you see that is so conflict-ridden, nobody asks themselves why the map of Baringo Central that was governed by Moi as MP throughout his political career, spanned from up there in Sacho all the way to a place called Muchongoi, which you cannot even access from the Baringo side. You have to access it from the Timao side. That is in that area is where you have Bogoria, which is also said to have minerals, including the fauna inside that lake. There is also a story about some lake. I'm listening to Professor Kivuda talking about Magadi, that they're doing some environmental thing to grow their soda ash in India. But there is something that was taken from Baringo that gives color to jeans, and it was patented. So now the locals can't use it, and it is from that Bogoria. That whole scenery there. There's a lot of mineral wealth there. So it was not accidental that Moi governed that wide, very, very wide area. So what I'm saying is that the time now has come. Yes, way forward. Professor Kivuda should lead Kenyans in auditing the public deals. Okay? I mean, like, really, we need to come. That's why I say that we need a transition period. We must fight. Ruto must go. And you saw when we say Ruto must go, it's also the system that produces the kind of Ruto leadership. That kind, it's a clarion call for that system to be totally dismantled. And then we go through all these public deals and say, this one is odious, this one will not be honored. You know, we need to have time to do that. Otherwise, if we get rid of these guys and then immediately try to bring in new people, this system knows how to reinvent itself. Just like the way William Ruto was Jubilee, my brother, with Uhuru Kenyatta, but he managed to morph himself, and today tells us the previous regime as though it was not him. This system knows how to reinvent itself. We must make sure that people are lustrated, that people are barred from holding public office in this country, and we need to start going after individuals, people who sit in the Public Investments Committee in Parliament that have a responsibility to actually ensure that the investments that are made in Kenya are sound. Every member, where deals like Adani have been done, we must go after the chairperson and members. We must make people personally culpable because they are elected to represent us. So we must have a means of getting them out, and then we hold people accountable. And once you are found to be culpable, we then bar you. Like the way we saw this Samburu guy was charged by the court, found guilty of corruption, and for 10 years you cannot seek public office. We must lustrate people for longer, and some of them even for life. We must make corruption in Kenya expensive, and people must think once, twice, thrice before going into public office. They must go there to serve the people. If not, kakando, go do business. But you need to know. Exactly. Unfortunately, we can't go the China way and actually kill them, because corruption kills. If corruption kills, you should be hung, but we don't go there. We can lustrate you, we can take back the property, but for me, we do need to work towards getting rid of this lot and having a transition period. Over. Thank you.
Asante Daisy. And for your information, I've interviewed one of the co-authors of the Big Conservation Lie. If you search me even on my X space, you'll find an interview with one Wambaria. He explains about that stuff that was stolen from Bogoria. Vivian, we're going to give you a maximum 3 minutes. Maybe if you want to come back, you can request a mic. And then what we would like to do, because we have half an hour to finish the show, is our guest, and lucky for us today we have Wakilis, because we are talking about the Katiba, can do a wind-up of their recommendations. What are the solutions? Vivian, you have the mic, and then Wakili will be next. Wakili Stephen will be next.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Redemptor. Yes, as you've heard, my name is Vivian. I'm a Kenyan musician and most recently an author and a graduate in counseling psychology. First, just to thank Dr. Mombi and Redemptor for holding this space. It's quite refreshing. In fact, I recently subscribed to Dr. Mombi's channel, and it's also quite eye-opening. I just want to chime in also to the Lake Magadi space. I have been there severally because I have lived in that side of Kajiado, and I will say it is getting worse. Initially, it would be easier to get in, but nowadays there are so many restrictions. Getting in, going near the lake, it's like it's not even part of our country anymore. When you go in there, you feel some kind of way. You feel like you don't belong. And they make it clear. And also, I notice people living there also drink a lot. So I just wanted to add that. I also want to thank the advocate, I think, who unraveled how the Katiba can work for us, especially in terms of revoking what the World Bank, tries to push our way as a country. And just to say, all this actually boils down to the reality that we are in a whistle-blowing era. That's just the reality. I had seen my fellow artist here, Nons. I think some of you call him Nonini. And let me just say, even as musicians, us guys have always been fighting. I've been a musician in this country for 10 years, and not low-key. That one in the forefront, actually making the music, performing all over the country. And we have bodies like Kekobo, MCSK, Prisk, which recently rebranded to, Privisk, but it's just a rebrand to keep stealing. You will see many pioneers, even people like Ted Josiah, who made a whole anthem like Unbogable, saying he has not made a cent. So you can imagine the level of, I don't even know what to call it, that level of low, just extreme corruption that happens, even for creatives not to be able to make a cent of creative work. And I think that's something that should seriously be exposed. And the idea is just to keep questioning all these people in positions of authority and questioning them without fear, without any kind of holding back, because that is the kind of mentality that we must hold on to. I think Dr. Mumbi mentioned we're in that space where, we have to, it's like we were asleep before the maandamano, and it's like we are all now just awake in very big ways. And I'll say the best part about crisis, because I mean, personally, I have been in crisis. You can imagine being a musician in Kenya should be on their 1,000 ways to die. But what it does is it forces you to really, it jolts you awake. It's like vile unaweza kwa ile kitu, like when you're about to die in hospital, that thing that makes you wake up again. It's like that's what happens. And I'll also point out that at the moment, I am not in Kenya. I'm in the US since a few months, just in a bid to create a better life for myself and my child. But anyone who has traveled understands that US, and I will spell it vile tunaispelingi kama wa Kenya, YUES, unajua kule US, it is not an easy place to live in, and it is not home. This is a largely capitalistic space, and Kenya is our land of origin. So the reason I am pointing this out is to say that this space of exposure is not a choice. It is something that must happen so that we reclaim our land, so that everyone in every position that they hold, with every gift that they possess, they are able to actually reap the fruits of their labor, because that is something that has been extremely elusive. If you listen to Dr. What's his name? Onyancha, I think he's a governor. If you listen to him talking, or Senator Onyancha, you will hear, he's blatant about it, because he's been sitting in those spaces, and it is completely mind-boggling, the filth that we sit in as a country. And just to add, finally, that as a creative and a deep thinker, being a Kenyan must not be an act of suffering. It must not be. It should not be, and listening to all the amazing minds that we have here in different areas. I noticed there are a lot of advocates. Mimi tu ni msanii, lakini wasanii also have so much to chime in. And I'm strengthened by this space and other similar spaces, which act as a powerful reminder that it is possible to win this battle. So I just wanted to ensure that I said that on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivian. That was absolutely beautiful. And yes, I've seen Nonini on the space as well, and many other smart Kenyans. This is the show we call Smart Enough. There's a lot of comments. I'm kind of going through your comments. There's a question that's been asked, and maybe I can pose it to Akili, who's coming on next, and to our main speakers. Wallace is saying, can we engage class action suits as we the people against all the projects we can prove were overcharged and the quality below quotation? Not all the money was spent, etc. Maybe that's something you can address. But for me, this conversation is definitely bringing me hope. Wakili, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mumbi and the Redemptor. For this
Wakili Steve, you're not very clear.
You can hear me now?
Perfectly.
Yes. About challenging some of this project. It is true, it's possible to challenge them. The only challenge I think we have, and I think one of the speakers had mentioned, is most of this information is not available to most of us, and that's why we have been calling upon most of the members of the public respect the Constitution to share some of this information. And I'm saying that because, for instance, the issue of Adan, we wouldn't have known it if someone would not have whistleblowed about it. So it is our business, even those who are working in these government institutions and those who know these corrupt dealings are taking place, to share this information. And I noticed something about a place like Karura Forest. If members didn't know, but there is a lot of construction going on inside Karura Forest. People are being leased the place to put up hotels, and we are following up to try and get as much as possible so that we can use that information now to use that information now to those matters challenge. And you can see we are regressing to some of the milestones we had made. Because I remember Professor Wangari some of these places, like some of these places, like the Gurpak issues. But you can see there is a lot of walls. Being erected to protect these places, and some of them being accessed, and some of them being hived out for. So we need to be a bit more proactive by sharing information, by sharing information. These things cannot work unless we collectively.
The other thing I would like
to
echo as a
mention and echo as if you look at the kind of people we have in government, especially the top leadership, especially the top leadership led by
is a group of people who are totally against this constitution,
and they campaigned using their resources
in all form and manner
to oppose the
clearly showing that we have a
who don't believe in the rule of law,
who don't believe
in the spirit of this
who don't believe in the spirit.
That's why for them the constitution is more
for them the constitution
is more
to them
achieving the things they want to achieve, which is
a means of trying to make our life.
In 2010 August,
you can all remember how the whole world.
came
and
out
we all went out to be very
and we all went out to be
and some of the things which our constitution provides, especially on the issue of leadership, on the kind of leaders we need,
very great aspirations,
implemented,
if they were fully
implemented,
we will have a very
good crop.
We will have a very
in this
good
country
crop
that
of leadership
that respects the law,
that respects the public
understands the need of
self-service and selfish gains.
We have experienced a very serious challenge.
We have experienced a very serious challenge.
When I'm saying this,
example, like
some of the leaders we are seeing right now,
with the head of state,
dining with the head of state,
whom we know were removed from office,
because of corruption.
And
some of them were former governors.
former governor Kiambu, former governor Nairobi.
They were all removed from office.
They were all removed
some of this corruption issues.
Because of some of these corruption
time have we
issues.
seen
And at no time have we seen them being
freed from these corruption cases.
But the president is dining with them and moving around with them,
showing off how they have acquired a lot of wealth.
That I think, and I believe that as Kenyans, we need to reject
as Kenyans, we need to reject